today with Dan Carnival of Eaton to talk a little bit about the new level 2 and DC fast charge stations that were installed here. Dan, can you give us a little background on the Eaton units, the level 2 and the DC fast charge, which is behind you?
Sure, Rick. So this is a DC quick charge that would charge one of the all-electric vehicles like the Mitsubishi or the Nissan. 15 to 30 minutes typically is what people are looking for to try to get that quick charge. This is 400 volts DC directly into the battery circuit. It's 200 amps, so it's a mid-level kind of DC quick charge. When they talk about the smaller ones, and these things are scalable, they will take longer. They're still 400 volts DC, but they're less current, where this is again a mid-range one. The ultimate goal in the future would be even to make these things bigger and you know, get something down in the range that we're talking about with the normal fill-up that we have with cars that are 5 to 10 minutes. So.
Now they're along the Pennsylvania Turnpike. They're supposed to be installing some DC fast charge and level 2 across the Pennsylvania Turnpike. Do you see that in the future as being a viable way for vehicles to move across the state?
Yeah, I think so. As you think about, you know, again, it's a cart and a horse thing. The more of these things there are, the easier it is for people to use their vehicles that are all electric and to fill up. And also, you know, the tow truck now won't have the gas on board. They'll have one of these on board if you run out. So there's this whole idea that the more of these charging stations you have, the more practical it'll be, and certainly the Turnpike's a good opportunity for something like this.
So also installed is the level 2 charging stations, which you have here, and PRCC is part of a grant program where we're working with Eaton to install 54 charging stations, which are probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 or 20 are already in. How do you see the market growing for electric charging stations in Western Pennsylvania and Pennsylvania in general?
Well, I think this part is a no-brainer right away, because the hybrids make it easier for people to use the, you know, to avoid that range anxiety issue where the all-electric concern is. But when you have the plug-ins, either for the all-electric or with the hybrids, now you have a combination of things that you can certainly more cost-effective and certainly more widespread. So we're starting to see a lot of these installed in a lot of different locations. So we have those 2 here. We have a couple more actually installed here as well. So we have 4 of those stations here. And again, a reasonable thing for people to do. If you think about when people come to work, your car sits there, you know, 4 to 8 hours anyway. So it's a really easy way to charge your vehicle in a reasonable amount of time that you're going to be using that charger. One example, I'll give you an example of a guy told me, well, you know, if I use, for example, Chevy Volt that has a 30 to 40 mile range on electric only, he said I couldn't really use that. I'd always be switching to gas. But I said, well, how far away from, you know, work do you live? And he said 30 miles. So I said, well, you're a perfect candidate, right? So you fill up at home, costs you about $1. You come into work here, we'll fill it up for free basically. So you go 60 miles for $1 of your own money, and I think it's a really practical way to think about the up and coming charging methods and the level 2 charges that we have.
With the original equipment manufacturers, the big 3 starting to come out with electric vehicles in the future and additional plug-in electric, do you see the market, niche markets working with electric charging electric vehicles here in Western Pennsylvania? Yeah,
I've heard from actually a number of people. They'll, you know, it's not just our demo models anymore. It's a lot of electric vehicles out there that people are starting to purchase. We did a day at our headquarters building not too long ago, and we actually let some of our own employees drive one of our vehicles, and the next day I come in and the guy actually had one, you know, that actually tested one of our cars. So, you know, people do like driving the cars. There's a lot of this, you know, you're not sacrificing anything by driving these electric vehicles and the hybrid electric vehicles. So I think that's the key there. Is as long as people don't feel like they're giving something up to get something that actually is better for, you know, the environment and technically in a few years from a cost standpoint, you know, I think they can do much better on the cost. I think we're going to be a win-win kind of situation.
And as you said earlier, $1 or $1.50 to fill up a vehicle for 40 miles, that's probably even better than what natural gas is in our area today.
Yeah, and that's hard to believe, but you're right. I mean, so if you think about it, the Volt is a 10 kilowatt hour battery, and I believe the Nissan Leaf is something like 16 kilowatt hour batteries. And if you think about what you pay for a kilowatt hour at your house, 10 to 12 cents, it's easy math. So I think, again, from a practical standpoint, it's not too complicated to figure out that, we're not going to have to rely on the fluctuations in gas prices anymore. Our electricity grid is fairly well established and stable, as we know, and the price of electricity isn't going to change that dramatically over the next foreseeable future.